It was a bright morning in the heart of the city, where luxury cars gleamed in the sun and skyscrapers stood tall like arrogant giants, casting their long shadows over the poorer neighborhoods below. But amid all this glitter and pride, a dark story was about to unfold, one that would expose the true colors of wealth, arrogance, and hidden power. And as I tell you this story, I want you to stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear is not just about money and pride, but about humanity, justice, and a shocking truth that left everyone speechless. So listen carefully, and if you love powerful stories that reveal the truth behind appearances, don't forget to subscribe, because more life-changing stories are waiting for you. In this city lived the wealthy Harrington family, owners of massive estates, luxury brands, and political connections, but at the center of it all was Richard Harrington Jr., the only son of the millionaire Richard Sr. And though born into privilege, Richard Jr. had grown into a spoiled, arrogant young man who thought money could buy him anything, including people's respect, and everywhere he went, he carried himself with the pride of someone who had never faced consequences, driving his imported sports car recklessly through the streets, laughing at traffic rules, and mocking anyone who dared stand in his way. Yet on this fateful day, his arrogance would collide with the life of a woman who carried not just an unborn child but also a secret that could shake his family's world. The woman's name was Sarah, a gentle soul with a quiet strength, who despite being pregnant, walked daily through the market to fetch groceries, for she believed in simple living, never flaunting wealth, though her husband's identity was something she never revealed openly, and many in the neighborhood whispered about who he really was, but no one dared to question her directly because her husband had a reputation that inspired both fear and respect. Sarah was crossing the street slowly, her hand resting protectively on her belly, when Richard Jr., speeding in his glossy red Ferrari, ignored the traffic signal and rushed forward, honking impatiently as though the world had no right to delay him. And then it happened. The car brushed against Sarah, knocking her off balance, and she fell hard onto the ground, clutching her stomach, gasping in pain as bystanders screamed and rushed forward, horrified at what they had just witnessed. People shouted, "You fool! Can't you see she's pregnant?" But Richard Jr. stepped out of the car, wearing his designer sunglasses, smirking as if nothing serious had happened, brushing off his expensive jacket, and saying in a cold tone, "It was her fault, she shouldn't have been in my way, and besides, do you know who I am?" The crowd grew furious, some recording the scene with their phones, others yelling that he must take her to the hospital immediately, but Richard Jr. laughed arrogantly and said, "I don't have time for this nonsense, call an ambulance if you want, but don't waste my time." Then he pulled out his phone and started scrolling as if nothing mattered, and this heartless act burned anger into the hearts of everyone around. Yet Sarah, despite her pain, whispered only one thing with trembling lips, "You don't know who my husband is." Her words echoed in the silence that followed, leaving everyone puzzled, including Richard Jr., who raised an eyebrow mockingly and said, "Husband? Who cares about your husband? I'm Richard Harrington. I own this city." But deep inside, a strange unease crawled over him, though he quickly masked it with arrogance. An ambulance finally arrived, and Sarah was rushed to the hospital, while Richard Jr. drove off recklessly, thinking the matter would disappear as always, for his father's money and influence had erased his mistakes before, but this time, destiny was waiting to teach him a lesson. At the hospital, doctors worked frantically to stabilize Sarah and protect her unborn child, while news of the incident spread like wildfire on social media, with videos of Richard Jr. mocking the pregnant woman going viral, igniting public. And people began demanding justice, chanting that wealth should not be above humanity, while Sarah's quiet but powerful statement, "You don't know who my husband is," became the line that everyone kept repeating, fueling curiosity and speculation. Who was her husband? Why did she say it with such confidence, even while in pain? Was he someone powerful? A politician? A businessman? Or someone entirely different? The Harrington family panicked as the scandal reached the media, with reporters camping outside their mansion, demanding answers, and Richard Sr. scolded his son, but instead of regret, Richard Jr. sneered and said, "Father, don't worry, she's just some poor woman, her husband can't touch us, we'll settle this like we always do, with money." But Richard Sr., experienced in the ways of the world, felt a strange fear gnawing at him, for he knew that sometimes power hides behind humility, and he had a bad feeling this was one of those times. Days passed, Sarah recovered slightly, but she refused any settlement or apology, and when questioned by the press, she simply smiled and said, "The truth about my husband will soon be known," and her calm confidence shook even the most arrogant hearts. Finally, the day came when Sarah's husband appeared, walking into the hospital not with a flashy car or a bodyguard entourage, but with a quiet authority that silenced everyone, his eyes sharp, his presence commanding respect without words, and when Richard Jr. saw him, his arrogance began to crack, for he realized he was not facing an ordinary man but someone far more powerful than money could control, and what happened next left the entire city stunned, a revelation that would destroy the Harrington pride forever. But that, my friends, is just the beginning of this story, and before I reveal the shocking truth in the next chapter, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because what comes next will shake you to your core.